So let's talk about the 11 spot Bitcoin ETF that were approved last week, and you have probably heard about it with everybody talking and chatting about it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media you have. So for me personally, I don't think that these ETPs or the ETF are the best investment instruments if you're looking to get exposure into crypto. So the 11 ETPs or exchange traded products is actually a large category by itself. And under ETPs, there is ETFs, which is one of the products. So if you can see the badly drawn Venn diagram that I have of what an ETP is, there are other products underneath it like ETF and ETNs. So traditionally, ETFs are funds that track a certain index like VOO, which tracks the S&P 500, or a basket of stocks like SPHD that tracks the top paying dividend stocks in the US. But this Bitcoin Spot ETP is a little bit different because it's a representation of a share of a company that owns Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin Spot ETP will require financial institutions to purchase and hold Bitcoin, and from there, they can sell shares of that holdings. And it's not like the future prices of what we have in the past where we have the futures ETF on Bitcoin prices. So this helps retail investors to own or get exposure to cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, just by purchasing this ETP. So you can think of it as buying a share of a company that holds Bitcoin on your behalf. So this approval may open door to fresh money coming into the space and buying up Bitcoin. And for the past 3 years, there were a handful of companies like Tesla and MicroStrategy that has publicly announced their purchase of Bitcoin and their CEO also being involved in the space. So with this approval, we might see more retail money coming into the space because of how easy it is to transit from traditional finance of owning stocks into owning cryptocurrencies, or specifically Bitcoin. And maybe further down the road, we might see institutional money flowing in because Bitcoin is now securitized and approved by the SEC in some way. And also with the approval, it makes it a more legitimate asset class and reduces the fear for people starting to invest into Bitcoin. However, I'm not buying the Bitcoin ETP, and here are 3 reasons why. And the first one is fees. So we all know that trading Bitcoin or moving them do come with some kind of fees, and it's pretty annoying. And similarly to ETF, they also have fees as well. But one difference here is how the fees are charged. So if you are purchasing Bitcoin through an exchange, you are paying a trading fee that ranges between 0.02% to 0.25%. Be it if you are buying $1 of Bitcoin or $1,000 of Bitcoin. Then the next fee is a little bit subjective because it depends if you are moving this Bitcoin out of the exchange or not. So if you are moving these Bitcoins out of the exchange, the fees will vary from exchange to exchange, but usually we'll see the fee somewhere between $5 to $30 depending on how congested the network is. The ETF on the other hand do come in cheaper with an expense ratio of 0% to 1.5% depending on the ETF that you purchase, and this amount is factored into the cost of the ETF as well. So on the surface, the ETF might look cheaper, but if you're looking to have exposure to Bitcoin in the long run, owning your own Bitcoin is cheaper because you pay a one-time fee to buy those Bitcoins, and then to transfer them, it's another one-time fee. So something that I do is to accumulate a substantial amount of Bitcoins before I transfer them over to my cold storage, be it a ledger or any other hardware wallet that you own. So this way I only make one transaction and it only costs me one transaction fee. And this gives us a good segue into our second point, which is ownership. So when you purchase your own Bitcoin, you own these Bitcoins, you are free to do whatever you want with them. You can trade them, you can sell them, you can move them to your cold storage.
You own them.
But with the Bitcoin ETF, you're only buying a share of a fund that holds Bitcoin for you. So this means that you do not own that Bitcoins per se, but you own a share of a company that owns Bitcoin. And in this case, it might be ARK, it might be Fidelity, it might be Invesco, it might be Franklin, or it might be iShares. So depending on the ETF that you purchase. So ownership of Bitcoin is rather important to me because the basis of Bitcoin was to allow people to have freedom of their money and not have any financial institution owning them. And with financial institutions owning Bitcoin right now, this might also spell the end for Bitcoin because now majority holders of Bitcoin will be financial institutions, which gives them the power to manipulate the market. Not that the market is not manipulated right now, maybe it is, maybe it's not, we will never know.
Guess we'll never know, will we?
So lastly is diversification. There are more than 2 million different cryptocurrencies out there in the market, and the number is constantly growing as well. Granted that 90% will be shitcoins or meme coins, there are still a handful of great projects out there that can potentially give you better gains. It's kind of why we buy crypto, right? Just to get gains. But jokes aside, if you are looking to invest in crypto, some tokens have done multiple folds in the last 90 days like Solana, which is up 300%, Ethereum is up 65%, Cardano is up 120%, and much more. And the market in crypto is more than just Bitcoin alone because each project plays a part in the ecosystem, which is also what gives a uniqueness for the industry itself. So having said all the bad stuff about the ETF, there is one good thing that came out of this ETF approval. And this is the exposure for traditional finance folks. So crypto space has been kinda hard to navigate even though there are so many videos on how to buy crypto, how to buy Bitcoin. And for the longest time, I've been teaching my mom how to purchase Bitcoins, but it's just not working out. So with this ETF, people who are looking to diversify into crypto, more specifically Bitcoin, now have the opportunity to get some exposure without the need to know how to set up a crypto exchange account, knowing how to send a transaction, or to use a hardware wallet. So there are cases of people losing their Bitcoin wallets or passphrases which contains a lot of Bitcoin in them. So it might make the investing into crypto a lot easier for new investors without needing to stress over passphrases or hardware wallets. So this brings us to the end of today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are about the Bitcoin ETF. Are you team Bitcoin ETF or are you team Bitcoin owners in the comments down below? And if you haven't, dropping a like will help us a lot. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and if you have any questions, please let me know.